Okay, it's still 31st of July 2025, and we're still in Liber secundus, second volume of the Red Book, and The Magician, section 4, continuing straight on from the last dialogue. Jung was talking with Satan, and now we get to the Kabiri, which is quite interesting. 10 more pages of Liber secundus. So, and this is page 320 in the 2009 volume, and from page 164 in the calligraphic volume. Quote, where to begin, O gods, in suffering or in joy, or in the smallest feeling lying between? The beginning is always the smallest, it begins in nothing. If I begin there, I see the little drop of something that falls into the sea of nothingness. It is forever about beginning again, down where the nothingness widens itself to unrestricted freedom. Nothing has happened yet, the world has yet to begin. The sun is not yet born, the watery fragment has not been separated. We have not yet climbed onto the shoulders of our fathers, since our fathers have not yet become. They have only just died and rest in the womb of our bloodthirsty Europe. We stand in the vastness, wed to the serpent, and consider which stone could be the foundation stone of the building, which we do not yet know. The most ancient? Is it suitable as a symbol? It is suitable as a symbol. We want something graspable. We are weary of the webs that the day weaves and the night unpicks. The devil is probably supposed to create it, that paltry partisan with sham understanding and greedy hands. He emerged from the lump of manure in which the gods had secured their eggs. I would like to kick the garbage away from me, if the golden seed were not in the vile heart of the misshapen form. Arise then, son of darkness and stench, how firmly you cling to the rubble and waste of the eternal cesspit. I do not fear you, though I hate you, you brother of everything reprehensible in me. Today you shall be forged with heavy hammers, so that the gold of the gods will spray out of your body. Your time is over, your years are numbered, and today your day of judgment has gone to smithereens. May your casings burst asunder. With our hands we wish to take hold of your seed, the golden one, and free it from slithery mud. May you freeze, devil, since we will cold forge you. Steel is harder than ice. You shall fit into our form, you thief of the divine marvel, you mother ape, you who stuff your body with the egg of the gods and thereby make yourself weighty. Hence we curse you, though not because of you, but for the sake of the golden seed. What serviceable forms rise from your body, you thieving abyss? These appear as elemental spirits dressed in wrinkled garb, Kabiri, with delightful misshapen forms, young and yet old, dwarfish, shriveled, unspectacular bearers of secret arts, possessors of ridiculous wisdom, first formations of the unformed gold, worms that crawl from the liberated egg of the gods, incipient ones, unborn, still invisible. What should your appearance be to us? What new arts do you bear up from the inaccessible treasure chamber, the sun yoke from the egg of the gods? You still have roots in the soil like plants, and you are animal faces of the human body. You are foolishly sweet, uncanny, primordial, and earthly. We cannot grasp your essence, you gnomes, you object souls. You have your origin in the lowest. Do you want to become giants, you Tom Thumbs? Do you belong to the followers of the Son of the Earth? Are you the earthly feet of the Godhead? What do you want? Speak. There's now a note on the Kabiri before a dialogue with them. And so the Kabiri were the deities celebrated at the mysteries of Samothrace. They were held to be promoters of fertility and protectors of sailors. Friedrich Kreuzer and Schelling described them to be the primal deities of Greek mythology, from which all others developed. They appear in Goethe's Faust, Part 2, Act 2. Discussed in Transformation Symbols of the Libido, in 1940 he wrote, the Kabiri are, in fact, the mysterious creative powers, the gnomes who work under the earth, i.e. below the threshold of consciousness, in order to supply us with lucky ideas. As imps and hobgoblins, however, they also lay all sorts of nasty tricks, keeping back names and dates that were on the tip of the tongue, making us say the wrong thing, etc. They give an eye to everything that has not already been anticipated by consciousness and the functions at its disposal. Deeper insight will show that the primitive and archaic qualities of the inferior function conceal all sorts of significant relationships and symbolic meanings, and instead of laughing off the Kabiri as ridiculous Tom Thumbs, he may begin to suspect that they are a treasure house of hidden wisdom. That's from Collected Works 11. And yes, Jung commented on the Kabiri scene in Faust in Psychology and Alchemy. And the dialogue with the Kabiri that takes place here is not found in Black Book 4, but it is in the handwritten draft. And Kabiri become extremely significant throughout Psychology and Alchemy and become an important component in my commentary on dreams, which is extracted from Psychology and Alchemy. It's the archetype of the elves, the imps, the goblins, the gnomes, the sprites. Um, yeah, connected with Terence McKenna's DMT elves, for example. But it's an important theme for many reasons. Anyway, going on into their dialogue, did I mention? I think I mentioned what date it is and what we're up to. Magician, section 4. So, the Kabiri, we come to greet you as the master of the lower nature. Aye, are you speaking to me? Am I your master? Kabiri, you are not, but you are now. Aye, so you declare, and so be it. Yet what should I do with your following? The Kabiri. We carry what is not to be carried from below to above. We are the juices that rise secretly, not by force, but sucked out of inertia and affixed to what is growing. We know the unknown ways and the inexplicable laws of living matter. We carry out what slumbers in the earthly, what is dead and yet enters into the living. We do this slowly and easily. What you do in vain in your human way. We complete what is impossible for you. What should I leave to you? Which troubles can I transfer to you? What should I not do? And what do you do better? The Kabiri, you forget the lethargy of matter. You want to pull up with your own force what can only rise slowly, ingesting itself, affixed to itself from within. Spare yourself the trouble, or you will disturb our work. Aye, should I trust you, you untrustworthy ones, you slaves and slave souls? Get to work. Let it be so. He said, thereupon I laid this matter aside for 3 weeks. Okay, and so the dialogue continues. 166. Jung, it seems to me that I gave you a long time. Neither did I descend to you, nor did I disturb your work. I lived in the light of day and did the work of the day. What did you do? Kabiri, we hauled things up, we built, we placed stone upon stone. Now you stand on solid ground. I feel the ground more solid. I stretch upward. Kabiri, we forged a flashing sword for you, with which you can cut the knot that entangles you. I take the sword firmly in my hand. I lift it for the blow. Kabiri, we also place before you the devilish, skillfully twined knot that locks and seals you. Strike, only sharpness will cut through it. Let me see it, the great knot, all wound round. Truly a masterpiece of inscrutable nature, a wily natural tangle of roots grown through one another. Only Mother Nature, the blind weaver, could work such a tangle. A great snarled ball and 1,000 small knots, all artfully tied, intertwined. Truly a human brain. Am I seeing straight? What did you do? You set my brain before me. Did you give me a sword so that its flashing sharpness slices through my brain? What were you thinking of? Kabiri, the womb of nature wove the brain. The womb of the earth gave the iron. So the mother gave you both, entanglement and severing. Mysterious. Do you really want to make me the executioner of my own brain? The Kabiri, it befits you as the master of the lower nature. Man is entangled in his brain, and the sword is also given to him to cut through the entanglement. What is the entanglement you speak of? Kabiri, the entanglement is your madness. The sword is the overcoming of madness. You offsprings of the devil, who told you that I am mad? You earth spirits, you roots of clay and excrement, are you not yourselves the root fibers of my brain? You polyp-snared rubbish, channels for juice knotted together, parasites upon parasites, all sucked up and deceived, secretly climbing up over one another by night. You deserve the flashing sharpness of my sword. You want to persuade me to cut through you? Are you contemplating self-destruction? How come nature gives birth to creatures that she herself wants to destroy? The Kabiri. Do not hesitate. We need destruction, since we ourselves are the entanglement. He who wishes to conquer new land brings down the bridges behind him. Let us not exist anymore. We are the 1,000 canals in which everything also flows back again into its origin. Should I sever my own roots, kill my own people, whose king I am? Should I make my own tree wither? You really are the sons of the devil. Kabiri, strike. We are servants who want to die for their master. What will happen if I strike? Kabiri, then you will no longer be your brain, but will exist beyond your madness. Do you not see? Your madness is your brain, the terrible entanglement and intertwining in the connection of the roots, in the nets of canals, the confusion of fibers. Being engrossed in the brain makes you wild. Strike. He who finds the way rises up over his brain. You are a Tom Thumb in the brain. Beyond the brain, you gain the form of a giant. We are surely sons of the devil, but did you not forge us out of the hot and the dark? So we have something of its nature and of yours. The devil says that everything that exists is also worthy, since it perishes. As sons of the devil, we want destruction, but as your creatures, we want our own destruction. We want to rise up in you through death. We are roots that suck up from all sides. Now you have everything that you need. Therefore, chop us up, tear us out. Will I miss you as servants? As a master, I need slaves. Kibiri, the master serves himself. You ambiguous sons of the devil, these words are your undoing. May my sword strike you. This blow shall be valid forever. The Kibiri, woe, woe, what we feared, what we desired, has come to pass. Insert image 169. Okay, and beginning 171. Quote, I set foot on new land. Nothing brought up should flow back. No one shall tear down what I have built. My tower is of iron and has no seams. The devil is forged into the foundations. The Kabiri built it, and the master builders were sacrificed with the sword on the battlements of the tower. Just as a tower surmounts the summit of a mountain on which it stands, so I stand above my brain from which I grew. I have become hard and cannot be undone again. No more do I flow back. I am the master of my own self. I admire my mastery. I am strong and beautiful and rich. The vast lands and the blue sky have laid themselves before me and bowed to my mastery. I wait upon no one, and no one waits upon me. I serve myself, and I myself serve. Therefore, I have what I need. And his marginal note in the calligraphic volume, except what is present in the last pages of the Mangeti collection, seems to refer to a collection of alchemical texts by one J.J. Manget, 1702. Jung's note possibly refers to the last woodcut of the volume Mutus Liber, which concludes volume 1, which is a representation of the completion of the alchemical opus, with a man being lifted upward by angels while another lies prostrate. Anyway, the dialogue goes on. Jung says, my tower grew for several thousand years, imperishable. It does not sink back, but it can be built over and will be built over. Few grasp my tower, since it stands on a high mountain, but many will see it and not grasp it. Therefore, my tower will remain unused. No one scales its smooth walls. No one lands on its pointed roof. Only he who finds the entrance hidden in the mountain and rises up through the labyrinths of the innards can reach the tower, and the happiness of he who surveys things from there and he who lives from himself. This has been attained and created. It has not arisen from a patchwork of human thoughts, but has been forged from the glowing heat of the innards. The Kabiri themselves carried the matter to the mountain and consecrated the building with their own blood, as the sole keepers of the mystery of its genesis. I built it out of the lower and upper beyond. I built it out of the lower and upper beyond, and not from the surface of the world. Therefore, it is new and strange, and towers over the plains inhabited by humans. This is the solid and the beginning. Obviously, in Psychological Types, Jung commented on the symbolism of the tower in his discussion of the vision of the tower in The Shepherd of Hermas. And that's coming up in my commentary on that volume. And in 1920, Jung began planning his tower at Bollingen. Okay, goes on in insert 172. Just and I have united with the serpent of the beyond. I have accepted everything beyond into myself. From this I have built my beginning. When this work was completed, I was pleased, and I felt curious to know what might still lie in my beyond. So I approached my serpent and asked her amiably whether she would not like to creep over to bring me news of what was happening in the beyond. But the serpent was weary and said that she had no liking for this. Feb 2, 1914. I don't want to force anything, but perhaps, who knows, we will still find out something useful. For a while the serpent hesitated, then she disappeared into the depths. Soon I heard her voice. I believe that I have reached hell. There is a hanged man here. A plain, ugly man with a contorted face stands before me. He has protruding. This is Jung, not her. He says, a plain, ugly man with a contorted face stands before me. He has protruding ears and a hunchback. He said, I'm a poisoner who was condemned to the rope. What did you do? I poisoned my parents and my wife. Why did you do that? He, to honor God. I, what? To honor God? What do you mean by that? He, first of all, everything that happens is for the honor of God. And secondly, I had my own ideas. I, what went through your mind? He, I loved them and wanted to transport them more quickly from a wretched life into eternal blessedness. I gave them a strong, too strong, a nightcap. And did this not lead you to find out what your own interest in this was? He, I was now alone and very unhappy. I wanted to live for the sake of my two children, for whom I foresaw a better future. I was in better health than my wife, so I wanted to live. Did your wife agree to the murders? He, no, she certainly would have consented. No, she certainly would have consented, but she knew nothing of my intentions. Unfortunately, the murder was discovered and I was condemned to death. Have you found your relatives again in the beyond? He, that's a strange and unlikely story. I suspect that I'm in hell. Sometimes it seems as if my wife were here too, and sometimes I'm not sure, just as little as I'm sure of my own self. What is it like? Tell me. He, from time to time, she seems to speak to me and I reply, but we haven't spoken about either the murder or our children until now. We only speak together here and there, and only about trivial things, small matters from our earlier daily life, but completely impersonal, as if we no longer had anything to do with each other. But the true nature of things eludes me. I see even less of my parents. I believe that I have yet to meet my mother. My father was here once and said something about his tobacco pipe, which he had lost somewhere. But how do you pass your time? He, I believe that there is no time with us, so there is none to spend, nothing at all happens. Isn't that extremely boring? He, boring? I've never thought about it like that. Boring? Perhaps, but there's nothing interesting. In actual fact, it's pretty much all the same. Doesn't the devil ever torment you? He, the devil? I've seen nothing of him. You come from the beyond, and yet you have nothing to report? I find that hard to believe. He, when I still had a body, I often thought that surely it would be interesting to speak to one of the dead. But now the prospect means nothing much to me. As I said, everything here is impersonal and purely matter of fact. As far as I know, that's what they say. That is bleak. I assume that you are in the deepest hell. He, I don't care. I guess I can go now, can't I? Farewell. Suddenly he vanished. But I turned to the serpent. Black Book 4 has soul. I turned to the soul. But anyway, I turned to the serpent and said, what should this boring guest from the beyond mean? I met him over there, stumbling around restlessly like so many others. I chose him as the next best. He strikes me as a good example. But is the beyond so colorless? It seems so. There is nothing but motion when I make my way over there. Everything merely surges back and forth in a shadowy way. There is nothing personal whatsoever. What is it then with this damned personal quality? Satan recently made a strong impression on me, as if he were the quintessence of the personal. Satan, of course he would, since he is the eternal adversary, and because you can never reconcile personal life with absolute life. Can't one unite these opposites? They're not opposites, but simply differences. Just as little as you make the day the opposite of the year, or the bushel the opposite of the cubit. That's enlightening, but somewhat boring. As always, when one speaks of the beyond. As always, when one speaks of the beyond, it goes on withering away, particularly since we have balanced the opposites and married. I believe the dead will soon become extinct. There is then a commentary. Reading, the devil is the son of the darkness of human nature. He who lives in the light strives toward the being. He who lives in the light strives toward being the image of God. He who lives in the dark strives toward being the image of the devil. Because I wanted to live in the light, the sun went out for me when I touched the depths. It was dark and serpent-like. I united myself with it and did not overpower it. I took my part of the humiliation and subjugation upon myself, in that I took on the nature of the serpent. If I had not become like the serpent, the devil, the quintessence of everything serpent-like. If I had not become like the serpent, the devil, the quintessence of everything serpent-like, would have held this bit of power over me. This would have given the devil a grip, and he would have forced me to make a pact with him, just as he so cunningly deceived Faust. But I forestalled him by uniting myself with the serpent, just as a man unites with a woman. So I took away from the devil the possibility of influence, which only ever passes through one's own serpenthood. which one commonly assigns to the devil instead of oneself. Mephistopheles is Satan, taken with my serpenthood. Satan himself is the quintessence of evil, naked and therefore without seduction. Not even clever, but pure negation without convincing force. Thus I resisted his destructive influence and grasped him and fettered him firmly. His descendants served me, and I sacrificed them with the sword. Thus I built a firm structure. Through this, I myself gained stability and duration and could withstand the fluctuations of the personal. Therefore, the immortal in me is saved. Through drawing the darkness from my beyond over into the day, I emptied my beyond. Therefore, the demands of the dead disappeared as they were satisfied. I am no longer threatened by the dead, since I accepted their demands through accepting the serpent. But through this, I have also taken over something of the dead into my day. Yet it was necessary, since death is the most enduring of all things, that which can never be cancelled out. Death gives me durability and solidity. So long as I wanted to satisfy only my own demands, I was personal, and therefore living in the sense of the world. But when I recognized the demands of the dead in me and satisfied them, I gave up my earlier personal striving, and the world had to take me for a dead man. For a great cold comes over whoever, in the excess of his personal striving, has recognized the demands of the dead and seeks to satisfy them. While he feels as if a mysterious poison has paralyzed the living quality of his personal relations, the voices of the dead remain silent in his beyond. The threat, the fear, and the restlessness cease, for everything that previously lurked hungrily in him no longer lives with him in his day. His life is beautiful and rich, since he is himself. But whoever always wants only the fortune of others is ugly, since he cripples himself. A murderer is one who wants to force others to blessedness, since he kills his own growth. A fool is one who exterminates his love for the sake of growth. A fool is one who exterminates his love for the sake of love. Such a one is personal to the other. His beyond is grey and impersonal. He forces himself upon others. Therefore, he is cursed into forcing himself upon himself in a cold nothingness. He who has recognized the demands of the dead has banished his ugliness to the beyond. He no longer greedily forces himself upon others, but lives alone in beauty and speaks with the dead. But there comes the day when the demands of the dead are also satisfied. If one then still perseveres in solitude, beauty fades into the beyond, and the wasteland comes over onto the side. A black stage comes after the white, and heaven and hell are forever there. Jung's marginal note to the calligraphic volume. I still do not realize that I myself was this murderer. And I am going to call that section 4 of The Magician. And let me just check which actual section we're up to. It's section 24. I'm going to call that in Liber secundus, second volume of the Red Book. The Magician, fourth part. And okay.